Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a new episode of the Habibis. 3 Arab game developers drinking good Arab tea. I think I said Arab one time too many in that, didn't I?
Or one time too few.
Just not enough Arab. There's 3 Arabs, so I should say Arab again.
Yes.
I think I've
3
made the
game
exact
developers
same mistake.
drinking good Arab tea.
We're at 4 now.
There you go. Nice. Yeah. I'm. How are you all doing?
I'm doing
Right.
good.
Who are you again?
Right. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that too. I'm Rami Ismail. I'm the host of this. I just keep saying Arab too much. Okay. Just to be clear. I'm Rami Ismail.
And I am Fawzi and Osama.
And I'm Arab Osama Dorius.
Ah.
So I'm a little off my ball game because I'm sitting in the parking lot of a Burger King with my laptop in the passenger seat of the car and my fancy podcast recording microphone precariously balanced on the center armrest and my phone attached to the windshield being a hotspot while I'm in the middle of Sweden. I have no idea where I am.
There's something very poetic about how all of this is coming together.
I love
Right.
I don't know. It sounds like a mundane Rami adventure to me.
Right. But you know what? I'm really happy that this is the sort of mundane Rami adventure that's coming back.
Yes, he's back. He's on the road.
It's back. It's happening again. There's events.
Yep.
So yeah, I've had a week. How's your week been?
Yes, it's been a week, man.
Right.
So much going on, you know.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah. So wait, it's now like there's this website that you put up together. Is Rami in the Netherlands? Is that now operational?
I think it's no longer operational because I don't have that phone anymore.
Oh.
But I can see if I can make it work again.
That's helpful.
Yeah, because it says that Rami's in the Netherlands. Yeah, that's not right.
It's helpful if I want to drop by the Netherlands unannounced. I need to check that website to see if you're there or not.
Yes. Although it might be better to just DM me on Twitter or something.
Or that.
Right. How's your week been?
Mine is actually pretty interesting. I posted a random shower thought, and I think as a result, I'm organizing a kind of an experiment game thing. So just for the fun of it, I actually literally had this as a shower thought. I'm like, I wonder what would happen if you got 100 designers to design a card game together where each one designs one card and passes it to the next without rules or context and see what happens. And I said it like, just like a throwaway tweet, and then a whole bunch of people signed up. So stay tuned. We're making a card game.
It's the Squid Game of card games.
Right.
Pretty much.
Can I design a card?
Well, of course you can design a card.
I'll design a card as well.
Let's make it happen.
Grab 100 game designers and you drop them on an island and see if they can come up with a game real quick. I like that.
Right. It's not going to work. That's going to end in disaster.
Lord of the Flies, right?
I already know what my card is Osama.
What is your card? Tell me.
My card is
It's a screen shake.
It flips the direction in which you should read the cards.
Oh, what? Wow. How? Like,
I don't know. I don't have rules, but that's the rule I'm implementing. So I'm guessing you're reading the cards in some sort of way.
That's amazing. I love it.
But yeah, you make the card. Make the card goes from right to left.
I love it. It's so on brand.
My card would read: play at any time. Cancel any previous card you play this on.
That works.
Wow.
That's a boss card.
Yeah, exactly.
I was playing Unstable Unicorn the other day, and it has a card just like that. It's called No.
It's called No. Yeah, nope.
It's just called No. It's called No, and then there's also a card that is Super No.
Super No.
Super No. Super No overrules like a no.
It knows the no.
Yeah. You can know a no, and a super no can like know anything.
I love it. I was thinking of making my card and calling it reverse ageism, and everyone gains a victory token equal to their age. So that's it.
This game is already unplayable because like Osama needs like 750 tokens.
I'm gonna throw a no card on that just now and end this game.
I think Osama is gonna play his counter card for that, and I'm gonna play my inversion card, which means that you do it the other way around now.
Oh no! Oh no! Super no!
This is already a good game. I love it.
I love it.
I could also I can throw a card in which you would have to stand on one leg and play the other. So the next player after you play this card have to stand on one leg and play their card while they're humming "The Lion Sleeps Tonight." That is the card.
Yep. That's good.
Oh no!
Okay, just add a card where anybody called Osama can only be referred to as Llama.
Oh future. No!
I think
that not so much.
Not too much happens there. Just everything stays the same.
I need to add Llama at the end of every name from now on until the end of time.
Fawzi Llama sounds pretty good.
I love it.
Fawzi Llama, Rami Lami doesn't quite work, but Fawzi Llama is 100% doable.
I love that your Rami became a Rami Lami and not
Rami Lami.
It's so good.
So yeah, this is the Habibis podcast.
Yes. Where we design card games on the fly.
The fly.
And then not disaster happens.
Exactly.
From the back seat of a car in Sweden.
It's technically the front seat. I'm in the driver's seat. Which it's a 17-hour drive for the record. And I had a bit of a rough week, so I decided to do a road trip. Right. I could have flown to my first event, by the way, in a year and a half.
Wow.
I did my first talk. You want to guess what my talk was?
What was it?
I called it Talk Jam.
Talk Jam?
I had 10 empty slides. I got the audience to fill in my slides and then gave a talk about what they told me to give a talk about.
That is freestyling a talk. That is impressive.
Wow.
It was good. It went well. The organizers, so this was an event in Hoofde, which you don't spell as Hoofde, you spell it as Skovde. Because the SK in Swedish turns into an H sound, apparently.
Yeah, I still struggle with how Swedish works.
Right. So Hoofde has an incredible game school, and a lot of Swedish talent is trained there, right? Including the people that end up in Stockholm or Malmö or anywhere else in Sweden. They've invited me a few times, and when I got the invite, I was like, yeah, I'd love to come, first in-person event. And I asked them, what is the audience? And they're like, well, okay, so there's students. Okay. They're like, and there's aspiring startups. Okay. They're like, there's also funded startups. I'm like, uh-huh. They're like, there's publishers. I'm like, there's also some AAA.
Okay.
Recruiters? They're like, yeah, recruiters. I'm like, okay, so this is kind of just like humans. They're like, yeah.
You're just missing influencers, that's all.
Right.
You got everyone else.
So I was just like, I can't come up with a talk with that. So do you mind if I just have the audience help me make my talk? And they're like, what? Okay, I guess. So I did that. It went really well. It was. You know what I noticed that I thought was really cool is that this pandemic has been a year and a half, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of friendships in the games industry are at the level where you can drop them and pick them back up again.
Yeah.
Right. We never really think about that because, you get actual friends in the games industry that you hang out with outside of circumstances that put you in the same room. But a lot of games industry friendships are sort of transient in that they occur when they occur.
Yeah.
And then they kind of get paused, and they're not lesser friendships.
No.
But they just kind of pick back up, and it's as if nothing happened in between.
Those are the ones I miss the most, actually, because during the pandemic, because you're not in person, I miss those people that I just run into in these events or in these get-togethers, and just we catch up. So how's it been since the last time we saw each other, kind of thing?
Same. Same. Yeah, it was really interesting to just pick it back up and be like, so what are you up to? And they're like, oh, this and that and that. And it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, what are you up to? Oh, this and that. Cool. Yeah, like okay, let's go have some food.
That's great.
And it's as if nothing happened. It was great. And let me tell you, Hofda, not a place where I thought I was going to have really good food. Came
What'd you have?
across a Lebanese, Lubnani,
Ooh.
and his name was Fuad. And I basically walked in and introduced myself, and I had a group of 10 with me, and I just told him like, okay, listen, I haven't had good proper Arab food in a restaurant for like a year and a half. If you're Lebanese, right, give me the best things you have, and don't ask me about menus or anything. Just bring the best food out. And my God, what a feast Fuad made! Oh, oof! I still can't eat, and this is like yesterday's dinner. Yeah, everything was great. He had ورق عنب, he had all the baba ganoush, the hummus, the kofta, the kebab, kibbeh, everything.
You're making me
Everything
hungry.
came out.
You're
What is
making me
this? The
hungry.
Habibis Discord? I mean, come on.
It was a feast. It was at least 30 plates, right?
Wow.
He came out and he explained how the ورق عنب was his mom's recipe, and that his mom still comes by because everything is his mom's recipe. And his mom still comes by the restaurant to check if it's still good. So they can't change the recipes because his mom will like just tear them apart. And we had baklava with some ice cream on the side for dessert, and it was just, I was so happy.
Rami, you're killing me.
I was so happy. Yeah, and that's not even my only food story this week.
Wait, what? There's more?
Wait, there's more food?
There's more.
I
5 years ago.
I need to get a snack for this one.
5 years ago, I was in a city called Örebro, I think. Örebro. I don't know how to pronounce it. Something like that. There was a game jam in a castle. It's called Castle Game Jam. And this was in June, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went there, and you know what also happened in June?
Well, I know the story, so I'm not going to chime in.
Ramadan.
It's Ramadan.
Yeah. It was Ramadan, which meant that I couldn't eat.
June in Sweden, huh? Ramadan.
June, Ramadan, Sweden. Fawzi knows exactly what's up here.
Oh,
There was 2.5 hours of night.
wow.
Right. So it turns out in Örebro, everything kind of closes early. So I was in my hotel and I called down and I said, like, hey, do you have any food? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, I'm in trouble then because it's 11 p.m. Can I order anywhere? And they're like, we don't think so. And I'm like, I need to eat. I have 2.5 hours to eat and drink. And after that, I don't get to eat or drink again. So I just ran out of the hotel. Right, I ran outside and I just started walking the city center until I would come across a place that had food. There had to be somebody, right? There had to be something, a McDonald's, a Burger King, whatever. And I walked by this tiny pizza shop, right? And the lights are on and there's people inside and they're walking around. And I'm just like, you know what? Whatever, I'll eat this. I open the door and the door's locked. And the guy inside looks at me and he just walks up and he does like the no sign, he waves his finger at me like, no.
We're closed.
And I'm just at him. I'm like, please, right? I do like a please gesture at him, and he opens the door and he says in Swedish, "We're closed." And I'm like, no, mate, listen. I'm in English. I'm like, listen, if your kitchen is still going, I really need a meal. It's Ramadan. And he looks at me. He goes like, Muslim, come in. And what had happened is the store had closed early because the local Muslim community meets up there to eat.
That's incredible.
So they gave me a place at the table and they fed me. And at the end, I said, okay, where do I pay? He said, you don't pay. And you come back tomorrow, right? You're going to be here 3 days. You come back every night. You eat here. We'll feed you. So I ate there every day, 3 days in a row. And at the end, I said,
I love it.
I really need to pay for a meal, right? Like you can't do this. Like I can't not pay. And he said, no, you don't pay for a meal. I said, okay, how about this? I'll make you a promise. One day, whenever I'm back in Örebro, right? Whenever I'm back, I will come here and I will buy a meal. And he said, Inshallah. Right? And it was the Inshallah that comes with probably not.
Yeah.
Right?
What are the odds of you passing by here again?
Yeah.
Exactly. So on this road trip, I decided to take a stop in Stockholm. Right. I drove all the way up to Stockholm from the Netherlands, 17 hours. And then on the way back to Hovde, you drive by Örebro. I didn't know that. So suddenly I saw the signs for Örebro. I was like, I need to do this. So I got off the highway, just took whatever exit, parked somewhere, set a route to the castle that the Castle Game Jam was in, parked my car, and just started wandering the city center because I didn't remember the name of the place. I didn't remember the address of the place. I didn't have anything to go on.
Luckily,
And
it's not that
eventually
big.
I found the place. Yeah, it's not that big. I found the place. I walked in. I ordered a meal. I paid for it. And as soon as the meal came out, I went up to the guy behind the counter who I recognized as the owner of the place. It's the same guy. And I told him, listen, 5 years ago, I was here for Ramadan. And he looks at me and goes, I remember. And he looks at the meal and he's like, you paid for the meal, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah. And he remembered the whole thing. So we caught up real quick. I had to get back on the road, so we just caught up, did the short like how life is, and said salam and went on the road again.
No, that's so
beautiful story.
Those are my 2 food stories this week.
Good stories.
I feel like I showed up without a food story. I feel not equipped to join this conversation.
Well, I
had a
can
pizza today. It was great.
Oh,
yes.
Oh.
But
I would have, please.
It's a short story, but a happy one. Okay.
I think from here on out, my food stories won't be as good. I'm sitting in front of a Burger King. After this recording is over, I'm probably going to walk into the Burger King and order a Burger King.
I expect
not the
you
McDonald's to eat your kofta McNuggets.
Yeah. Nope, no, it's going to be Burger King. I don't know where I am. I have no idea what place I'm in. The sign in front of the parking lot says Helsingborg. But I don't think I'm near Helsingborg yet. So, who knows?
Who knows?
So it sounds like if you're playing video games, you had a portable thing.
I have the new Switch.
Oh, you have the new Switch, huh?
I have the new Switch. You know what I think of the new Switch?
Yeah, what do you think of it?
It is much better than the original Switch.
How much better?
It is exactly so much. It's exactly so much better that if you already own a Switch, you don't have to upgrade.
Okay.
That's confusing.
But if you don't own a Switch, there is not a single reason to go for the old one anymore.
I see.
Okay. I see. It's the new 3DS kind of situation.
Right. The screen is so much better that it is almost embarrassing. The kickstand is actually functional.
Okay.
There's more memory in it.
Okay.
And it just genuinely feels like a better device. Right. Same Joy-Cons work. Labo stops working. So if you have Labo and you like Labo, that won't work anymore. But beyond that, it is absolutely superior to the point that playing, I downloaded Metroid Dread. Playing Metroid Dread on the original Switch and on the new Switch, it's embarrassing.
Wow, that much, huh?
Right. The screen is just leagues and leagues apart. And any game that I booted up on both was just it's better.
So is it lighting? Is it like luminosity, or is it resolution?
Luminosity, color, vividness, everything about the screen is better. And the size of the screen is slightly larger too. There is no contest. It is staggering what the difference is. The problem is it's exactly not $350 staggering.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's like $150 staggering, you know?
Yeah.
Did you try playing with another Switch, like an old Switch with a new one, like multiplayer stuff?
Yeah, I had them next to each other. No, I didn't play multiplayer, but I had them next to each other. Yeah. With the games that I have on cartridge, and no. After you've played on the new Switch, if you grab the old Switch and you start a game up, it's like having, it's like playing in the evening and you have the Game Boy Advance and your like sibling has like the Game Boy Advance SP.
Yeah.
With the backlight. So that's what it feels like.
This is the main reason I'm not getting one. We have 2 Switches at home. Actually, we have a bandwidth to get a third Switch. But if it's a better Switch, then we'll effectively have 1 Switch at home because nobody's going to use the other 2. So I can maybe get another old Switch and then we'll have 3 in circulation and that'll be fine. But if I get this new one, that's it. It's over. We effectively have 2 extra Switches no one's going to touch.
Yeah, you'll have 1 Switch and 2 backup devices.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I play Switch mostly docked. So for me, like the screen is not a big draw. So I like to play my Switch on my TV generally. Like it's where I play it 80% of the time.
Okay. Then do not buy the new Switch.
Yeah, I'm more likely to wait for the new Switch that comes after that, whatever that is.
Right. I'm waiting for the new Joy-Cons that don't have drift because I'm bitter. I bought enough Joy-Cons to play Smash Brothers 8 players, and like more than half of them, the game will play itself.
Yeah. I can't believe they're done with Smash.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's concluded. Sakurai can have a vacation.
Yeah.
Wild.
They're done for now. There's going to be other Smashes.
I mean, presumably, but like if I was doing the next Smash, I would have like 4 characters. Just Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi, so that everybody will lose it, and everybody will still buy it. That's what I would do.
I love it. That's a good call.
But the game that I'm playing on the new Switch is Metroid Dread. Has any of you played it?
Nope. I'm very interested.
Next on my list.
Yeah, me too.
It is good. It is so good. It is without giving away too much. It's I think a direct sequel to Fusion.
Okay.
Oh.
Which it even feels like a direct sequel to Fusion, but it has all of the improvements and changes that they've made since, right? So it feels like the healthy balance between Fusion, which you either love or hate, and sort of like the not Fusion Metroid games, which you either like or love.
Rami, have you played Samus Returns?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that compare as well? Because it's the same studio.
Right. So it's just kind of smash Samus Returns and Metroid Fusion together.
Ooh, good combo. I loved Samus Returns, and Fusion is a classic.
Right. So it's exactly that. If you've played those two, smash those together and imagine them with slightly more modern game design. And just like staggering graphics. Just it is hard to believe that this is a 5 gigabyte download because everything looks beautiful. Little background details. Every room is 3D, but the gameplay is in pure 2D, right? But in the 3D, like in the background, tiny little things moving, skittering, glimmering, giant creatures moving in the background, shadows being thrown everywhere. And occasionally the game will move to 3D, not for gameplay, but for a cutscene or for an effect. And it is a delight to play. If there's anything that people might dislike, it's that it railroads you a little more than you're used to from Metroid.
Okay.
So when you're stuck in a place, it is pretty clear that you're stuck in a place. And that you need to find the thingy before you can continue. But as soon as you find the thingy, you almost always know immediately where to go. Right?
That sounds like modern game design approaches to this stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? I thought it would not work for Metroid. It does. It's just not what you're used to from Metroid.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely done yet. I'm like, I think I'm like a 70 or 80% in. And it's just been such a delight. The animation is just, it's incredible. The graphics are amazing. The gameplay is so good.
I really can't wait.
I'm loving it.
It's
very
so
cool, man. Very, very cool.
It's also the only thing I've played, so
Yeah. Fair enough. That's I mean, like you're on the road, you're driving, you're eating all that food.
I please don't talk about food. I still can't think of food. So cool.
That's cool, man.
How about you, Fawzi?
Metroid is next in line for me for sure. So I played an indie game called Imposter Factory.
Ooh.
Imposter Factory is made by a studio called Freebird Games. I don't know if you guys know these guys, but they made To the Moon.
Yep.
The other game they made was a game about the bird. What was it called? Finding Paradise was the second game they made, and this is the third one. So To the Moon for me is one of my favorite stories in video games ever.
Yep, it's very good.
I love that game so much, and it's a little story about this game. I was shipping a game at the time when To the Moon came out, and we were at that stage when we were like, sending a build over, and then we were waiting for QA to verify if it's a gold master or not, and if it's not, then we're gonna fix more bugs. So it was like, I don't know, maybe like I have like 3 or 4 hours to wait until I hear back from QA. And it was late at night, and I was playing this game, in the meantime. So I played To the Moon for like 3 to 4 hours in between. It was such a touching game. I remember the studio manager walked in, and I'm like in tears. And I was like, Fawzi, you should go home. You look tired. I was like, no, I'm actually moved because of something else. But never mind. So. Yeah, I love that game. It's a very touching story for To the Moon, and like because through the power of To the Moon, I've played all their other video games. So I guess the best way to describe their games is that they are adventure games, narrative-heavy, narrative-driven adventure games made on RPG Maker. I think is the engine that they use. So all the games look like classic Super Nintendo-ish JRPGs. And, you walk around, you talk to people, and you unveil the story by collecting stuff. And this game is no different. It takes place in the same world as To the Moon. I'm not going to talk more about the plot because the game is the plot, but it's also very interesting, and it has this time loop mechanic in it in some way. So I don't know why 12 minutes keep showing up It keeps showing up in every game we play this year, but it's there's an element of that in Imposter Factory as well.
It's this year's Zeitgeist, right?
Yeah, we're talking about that the other week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In Freebird Games, I think the same person that directs the games and writes them also does a bit of the art, but also I think he's a pianist, and he also composes the music for the game. All 3 soundtracks are excellent. The To the Moon soundtrack is a regular on my Spotify playlist. Yeah, excellent soundtrack, great story, and a continuation to the series. I don't think
because it's a series, right? It's like To the Moon, and then Finding Paradise, and then now Imposter Factory.
Exactly.
I haven't played Imposter Factory yet, so I'm very excited.
Yeah. Is Freebird also
they're all connected.
Okay.
What's that, sorry?
I was asking if Freebird, a Bird Story. I was asking if that was part of it too. Is it connected as well, or is it separate?
A Bird Story, I think it's like a mini story of some sort. I think it is also part of, like, it's happening in the same world. But the reason why it's difficult for me to say is, like, for most of these games, if you play each individually, it's still, like, you can still have fun without playing the previous games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I would advise if you played everything to kind of get an idea about what's going on. I still think that
games too.
Yeah, very short, so you can do it 2 to 3 hours. I think for most games, I think To the Moon is still the magnum opus. I think it's like probably one of the most personal stories, and like it was a labor of love kind of thing. It's. I still think it's their best work, but this is also still very good and a very nice story. And they figured out a lot of stuff that weren't really working out too much in the previous game. So like they got the feedback and sorted it out. But yeah, still pretty good. Doesn't beat To the Moon for me. If you haven't played To the Moon, just drop everything, spend 3 hours, play To the Moon, and enjoy it because it's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's it for me. If you haven't played it, Rami, I think you would enjoy it as well, since you've been playing the series for a while. Yeah, that's it for me. I think I'm gonna start Metroid soon. Osama, did you play anything?
Yes, actually, I played Far Cry 6. So,
Oh wow, okay.
yeah, I've spoken a little bit about how, to me, I have a special relationship with Ubisoft games because I worked at Ubisoft Montreal, and there's a certain, um, I don't know what to call it, like the certain feeling of when I play them, like the open world Ubisoft games. It feels like coming home. It's a familiar feeling.
Yeah.
And I know it's a little, it might be odd for people to hear that, but like I can't help it. Like every time there's an Assassin's Creed or a Far Cry, I jump in and it feels like home. So I'm going to try to talk about this game without that lens, because that's not a fair thing. I know that the majority of the world doesn't have that same shared feeling about it. So to me,
you talk about your experience, man. You talk what you feel to talk about.
Okay. Right, we're here for the Habibi review, not the objective review.
All right,
exactly. This is not Metacritic.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. We don't want that.
Although Habibi Critic sounds great.
Critic.
Habibi Critic is pretty good.
Let's buy that domain name. Let's buy it quickly before this episode airs.
I give this game 5 out of 7 T's.
Yeah,
that's the Habibi reviews.
I think it should be types of coffee.
Yeah,
types of tea. Right.
I love it. So, Far Cry 6, Far Cry in general, the way I usually approach it is I'm in the open world, and I like doing the outposts. I actually genuinely enjoy trying to finish the outposts in stealth as much as possible, and then if I fail,
it's my favorite part as well. Actually, the outposts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're fun. They're fun. I love checking them off the map. I do the other missions once in a while. I eventually finish the game, but I'm never in any rush to actually expose the story because they're very formulaic. I actually, I've seen them behind the scenes, so I know exactly how it works. So there's no magic to me for that part. It's really just I just really enjoy like completing the outposts. So Far Cry 6, if you've played a Far Cry, it's pretty much the same game as the last 2 Far Cries. There are some innovations, but they're not very noteworthy, in my opinion. They add some difference to the game, but it doesn't address the fundamental issue with the issue that I think most people, and I myself included, have with Far Cry. Let's talk about the innovations first, and then I'll talk about the issue, if that's okay. The main innovation that I noticed that not many people are talking about is that when you're in the village now, you're in third person instead of first person. And this is a game that's traditionally always been first person. Even when you're in a car, you're in first person.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's actually good. It's good because, and I know why they did it. They did it because of the other innovation, which the game has a lot more focus now on crafting. Equipment, there's a quote that they keep repeating in the game, which is the right tool for the they keep repeating it. Well, how can I remember it? The right tool for the right circumstance, or something along those lines. Whatever. That's the gist of it. So
kind of that.
You go into poison fields, and if you wear a poison mask, you won't choke. That kind of thing. So you get this big inventory, and you get these mods that you add to the weapons, and it actually makes a real difference in how you could approach the missions. And that part on its own is interesting. And in third person, when you're in the village walking from one merchant to the next, crafting these things, now you can see them on your character. And your character has more like a voice, like a character has a personality. At the very beginning of the game, you choose if the character is a male or female. And the voice that comes with it, which is kind of becoming a Ubisoft staple. All the recent Assassin's Creed have been doing that. But again, it's not something that you had in a Far Cry before. So all of these are innovations that make for a better game in a lot of ways. And yet, the core thing that I feel that people are don't like about the game is the same thing that I actually still have a problem with, is it feels like you're just a series of errands. Like you finish a thing and then you wait for the next thing to be given to you. You don't feel like you're on this grand adventure to do a thing, like to complete a thing. And that's a much harder thing to address. And I just said thing way too many times. I should switch it and say Arab.
It's like me going Arab at the start of this episode.
Exactly.
Yeah. Say Arab 6 times. That's Far Cry 6.
Just like, combine it, Arab thing. But
it's an Arab thing. Hashtag Arab thing.
Because on paper, this should be the better Far Cry than the last few that have come out because of these innovations and these changes that help you address it better. The innovations took away a little bit from the stealth, so the outposts are actually less fun because all the fun new things are not that I've unlocked. Maybe that's going to change. I played it for maybe 10 hours now. I haven't unlocked any new thing that helps with stealth. So, and my preferred way to approach the outpost is stealth the whole way if possible, and then react, adjust if things go bad. All the fun new gadgets and toys you have are huge explosions and extravagant things. So it takes away from the stealth. It's like if I succeed the outpost in stealth, now I'm like, oh, I didn't get to play with any of my toys. That kind of sucks.
Oh man, that sounds like my kind of thing, though. I like explosions.
I was just about to say it sounds like they added some Vlambeer to their Far Cry.
Exactly, but I know that's a personal thing to me because I like to approach outposts that way, and I still think the innovations of these things were really good. I think I would have preferred a little bit more balance towards stealth, just to keep that the way I approached the balance that they had before. But still, you could ride horses now. I think you were able to ride elephants in one other Far Cry, so that's not a big innovation in that sense. They added things. It's not the same game, but it feels so much like the same game. It feels it doesn't. You don't feel the innovations because of the formula that's becoming more and more apparent with each game, which is go to the village, pick up a quest, go do the quest, come back to the village. There are no surprises. There's not
my formula for Far Cry is go to the village, pick up a quest, get distracted doing 75 outposts, go back to the village, then don't really care about the quest line anymore because you've done all the outposts. Then quit Far Cry.
So, Osama, what's the animal you release on people in this game?
Crocodiles. So far, that's the
crocodiles.
Crocodiles.
All I know is that there's a tiny dog.
Yeah, and he's so cute. And
Chorizo.
So the tiny dog, Chorizo. Yes. He actually helps. He's the only new addition that I've seen so far. Actually, that's not true because I have the gold edition. So I also have a robot dog that is kind of similar. So so the gold edition comes with blood. What was that expansion called? Blood Dragon. I forget what the Far Cry
Blood Dragon.
Dragon. So I got a full suit of armor of Blood Dragon and a robot dog from Blood Dragon, and they always have those friends, those pets that follow you around. Chorizo is kind of he's the only one that's good for stealth because he distracts people. You could send him in one direction, and they're like, "Oh, cute doggy," and then you could come and kill them from behind. So that works. And the robot dog, you could just send them on a stealth mission, on a stealth kill. And if there's nobody in line of sight, you'll kill someone far away. So those two help a little bit with stealth. So I appreciate that. All the other animals are kind of like the ones that you had before, but it's the croc that's the main one that you don't see in the other games. They're cool. I still like it. I'm still enjoying it. I'm playing it through, but I'm hearing other people talk about it, and the world is beautiful. By the way, Ubisoft knows how to do Caribbean. It's gorgeous. Walking around, it's really, really gorgeous. But you don't get that sense of adventure like you do.
How's the story?
It's exactly what I expected. So whether that's good or bad, you watch a trailer, that's the story.
That's the story.
Yeah, that's the story. Bad guy took over city, take him down, and that's it. They're, they did that. Okay, they did the trope. The video game trope where it's we need to motivate the player, so we're going to introduce a character and then kill the character and then show pain in the eyes of the main character so that you feel the pain of the character, and then the player you feel the motivation to avenge them. But you haven't had enough time to sit with the character who died to care. Yeah. So you feel a disconnect instead. Well, they did that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we should have flagged that as a spoiler. Well, you don't know which character.
Wait,
died.
you should have flagged as a spoiler that a Far Cry game opens like a Far Cry game. Hasn't that been like the literal intro of every Far Cry game since Far Cry 3?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. But that's the thing. Like, to me, that's such a. There's so much opportunity to make you care in different ways, and that's not it. That's not it. We
mean, for me, honestly, if I boot up the Far Cry and it lets me get to the outposts and I can do the outposts, I'm happy.
You don't get the outposts right away. You're on a
tutorial I hate this game.
For a bit. It's like, Breath of the Wild style tutorial island. You have to like suffer through that a little bit before you can get to the proper.
I'll take that. Like if it's the first hour, sure,
something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Still, I enjoy it. I'm happy. I'm going to finish it eventually. I'm going to do all the outposts, and then eventually I'm going to come back and finish the story.
I genuinely don't think I've finished a Far Cry game since Far Cry 3.
I don't think I've not finished one since Far Cry 2.
Right, but the weird thing is I've enjoyed every Far Cry game since Far Cry 3.
Oh, that's not weird at all. Like, I'm totally for people abandoning games before they finish them and moving on to something they enjoy more. I'm not a completionist. Why would you be? Unless
You're not a completionist?
No, I'm gonna play 5 games at the same time for 3 hours and then forget I started them and move on to another 5. Yeah, that's me.
Fair. I'm glad I'm not a completionist in Metroid because I'm like, I think I have most of the game, and I'm like, every map's like, you have 12% of the items. I'm like, well,
I think
Metroid's
I would
too,
like
right?
to be. I think I would like to be a completionist, but I just know that there's a lot of other games out there, and I just want to jump onto that.
Oh, yeah. Well, 12-year-old me was definitely a completionist back then.
I mean, but also I could only afford one game every 6 months, so
yeah, that's fair.
I completed everything because that was all I was going to be playing. I think I like maxed out the MDK demo.
Yeah, I used to play games I hated because I got one
MDK
game every little
good.
while. So even if I got a game that I hated, I would play it.
Right.
Because I was bored of the other ones. Because I played them to death because I was a completionist. So there you go.
I think the first game I did in completionist was Deus Ex.
Oh wow!
Because I played that and I was like, "There's too much video games." Not there's too many other video games. It's just Deus Ex is too much video game. Yeah, I remember that.
Good game, though. Good game. Oh, I like all the Deus Ex games. They're all good to me.
Me too. Also, the music in those games is very good.
Mm-hmm. Human Revolution, I think, is my favorite.
Human Revolution is very... I mean, the original is still my favorite, but Human Revolution was a very good second best one.
Yes. I think about it, and I'm seeing yellow everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything is yellow.
Asked for this.
I never asked for this.
Yeah, people saying that they never asked for yellow and then just yellow. It's like the worst Coldplay music video you'll ever see.
Yeah, I love it.
It's so good.
Jensen is the closest Solid Snake we've gotten in a long time as well. I never asked for this.
And such a good Solid Snake, right?
Yeah.
Like, totally nails it. I think Jensen was a better Snake than Snake was by the end of Snake.
You mean by Phantom Pain Snake?
Right. When we got to the end of like Solid Snake, it was like, I'll go play Adam Jensen for a bit.
Don't get me started. I'm a big fan. We should have a Metal Gear discussion at some point.
Yeah, me too. Although I'm still I like Metal Gear Solid 1 best, and that's kind of my opinion on Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. I actually agree. It's my favorite one.
It's my favorite game. I think my favorite overall Metal Gear game is the first one. My favorite Metal Gear story is the third one, and my favorite Metal Gear mechanically is the Phantom Pain.
Right. Yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Somehow for me, the answer is just Metal Gear Solid, the original. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's my Metal Gear Solid, and every other game I thought was interesting, but not Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. Oh man, we got into talking about favorite Metal Gear Solid and favorites and lists. We're gonna get so much hate.
Yes.
Send a hint to info@habibis.com. info@habibis.com. Osama loves to get some hate mail every now and then.
Just
speaking
important.
of mail. Wait, is this the right time, or did I jump the gun?
Go for it. I mean, we can't drop this transition. This was a good transition, so this is where we point out it was a good transition and make it a bad transition, and then you read the emails.
There you go. That's our tradition.
Oh my God. Classic.
So
I go through all this effort for a good transition.
We got excellent mail. We got 3 of them that we're going to read out to you now, and 2 of them are in the form of a question, so that's going to be interesting.
Okay.
So we'll talk about the first one. That is a question. In the last episode, in the Missing Giant Habibi Cat episode, we were talking about how, what do you have with your tea, remember? And we were mentioning that there was sugar as like, really, like people use way too much sugar. Well, Mustafa Haddara has a story. I guess it's Haddara. I'm not sure because he has a double D in his name. He basically tells a story that his dad used to tell him. He says, he was sitting with his teacher and a few fellow students, and they were drinking tea. The teacher passed around the sugar bowl, and he made sure that everyone had enough sugar for their tea, and then took his cup of tea, and instead of putting sugar in the tea, he poured the cup of tea into the sugar bowl. What's funny is we've joked about exactly this happening many times. I never actually heard of someone who actually did it.
I mean, I tend to put honey in my tea, and I can't imagine doing it with honey, though.
No.
Just dunk it in the honey jar.
Just dunk my tea into the honey, see what happens.
So we have another email. The other email is from Jose. Jose writes again, because he's written before. But he says, I'm sure you have all experienced innumerable instances of non-Arab people being surprised that you're somehow not what they thought Arabs were like. But what about the other way around? Were there any really eye-opening experiences when you first encounter someone or something from another culture that completely blew apart your expectations? Open question to all of us.
For me, just the fact that lemon isn't the same thing everywhere was mind-blowing.
It's true. For us,
still
it's
gets
yogurt.
Me every time.
For you, it's milk, right?
It's milk.
Yeah,
lemon
for us,
is milk.
Yogurt.
No, it's milk.
You can say whatever you want. It's yogurt.
No, but like
it's it's milk. So I think that is the correct one, right? That is the.
I have no idea. Lemon is milk. That's all I know.
Okay.
You know,
we say halib, but if it's for milk.
If it's something else for you, khalas, we don't have to fight about it unless you serve me yogurt when I ask for milk. Fight about it.
I grew up in Montreal since I was 5 years old, and it's extremely multicultural. So it's really hard at this point to surprise me when you meet someone else. I think I've seen it all. So I don't actually think I have that experience. But I did have the other one, of course. Many times people were like, oh, you're not what I expected from an Arab, but it's because they have a very narrow Hollywood view of what an Arab is. But I think that's right.
I think I almost feel like when you ask for the opposite, I sometimes get that people think that Arabs think I'm not Arab enough.
Oh,
yeah,
that one has happened to me, which is a weird sort of self-policing that sometimes happens in the culture. But yeah, I've absolutely gotten like you're not what I expected out of an Arab, and I get the like, wow, but you're so well spoken. I get that one too.
Oh no,
which those people can go punch themselves. But yeah, no, I mean, I travel around the world all the time, and every time you meet somebody from a different culture, there's something eye-opening. I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think I mentioned a couple of stories.
Know if it has happened.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned on the podcast a couple of stories when I still tried to haggle while I was in Japan, or when I tried to force pay for meals sometimes, even though in other cultures they'd be like, why is this guy doing this? So there's a bunch of times when I was like trying to do an Arab thing and people were like, what's going on? But yeah, the other thing that Rami was talking about, I get that all the time. It's like, oh, my favorite one is I got this the other day from another Arab. What was it that she said? I thought it was interesting. She said, "You're very modern for an Arab guy." I don't know what to make of that.
Right. I got that one too. I got that one too.
I don't like that one. Oh,
nope.
Nope.
No. All right, so let's move on because it's probably going to get a little uncomfortable.
We got a third email.
So third email is by Rad, and what he says is it's mostly for Fawzi. He said, my question is about working abroad as an Arab, both in the how to find a game job abroad outside of the Middle East sense and the how's the experience different once you're there sense. Are there any advices or things that you've done, to help you with that, basically? Any advice, Fawzi? Or I guess you could chime in too, Rami, if you've encountered something.
The question is about like finding like how advice for working in different places around the world, if I understand that correctly.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. How to find a game job abroad outside of the Middle East.
But also what to expect when you get to a different place as an Arab.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. Just two widely different questions. I get the first one is that it's about getting experience. So, as with any other job, is finding out what the companies that you want to apply to want, and then like working on like building a portfolio and a resume that kind of matches the job description. Then in my case, like it was about making games. There weren't any game companies, so we made a couple and we started making games. I started indie, as I mentioned on the show before. We made a bunch of games, and then after making a bunch of them, that allowed me to apply for jobs, and then got called over. Eventually, how it happened to me in some essays was kind of funny because I studied computer science and I studied Japanese, and then there was a Japanese company that wanted to open a Middle Eastern branch, and they brought all their programmers and their artists over from Japan, but they wanted a designer with a local experience. So at the time, there wasn't that many game designers in the region. So when I was doing the interview, I spoke Japanese to the guy, and he was like, "What? Not only are you the only game designer, but you also spoke Japanese." So he made me an offer right there in the phone call. It was like, what are the odds of that happening? So I'm not sure if this is exactly like my story is what you should do to get a job, but that's how it happened to me, for example, and that ended up moving me to Asia,
your advice
around the world.
Your advice is about 15 years ago, speak Japanese.
15 years ago, study computer science, study Japanese, and make games, basically.
Step 1, find a time machine. Step 2, learn Japanese.
The modern day advice is that find out what the companies want and try to build your experience to match the companies that you want to work for.
Right. And I think if I could add anything, it's probably don't stare yourself, don't just focus on the companies you want to work for necessarily, right? There's a lot of games industry and there's a lot of games industry that you might not know of, right? In huge cities, in cities with lots of games industry, in the UK, in Berlin, in Asia, in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, there's games industry everywhere.
Yeah.
If you want to move abroad as part of what you want to do, then absolutely. There's games industry everywhere, but don't just go it has to be Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, you're right.
That's not how the industry works.
Yeah, you need to have an open mind and try out a whole bunch of stuff. Keep applying until you hit it with one company or another, and then you make your way either within the company to doing the thing you want or, down the line. But most importantly, it's about working on yourself and your skill set and gaining that experience.
Yeah. What I'd also add is if you're fortunate enough to be able to find one, get a mentor, someone who's walked that path as recently as possible, because a lot of people will find people who will look for people who joined the industry 15, 20 years ago, and their experience might not be relevant, but find someone who walked that path more recently. And show them your portfolio, show them your CV, ask them advice, and very often they have
pro tip. My pro tip for joining the industry is make some Flash games, sell them for money. work for me. Work for me.
Don't do
Flash is hot.
No, please. Yeah, just the big deal. Please don't make Flash games. For anybody who didn't catch the sarcasm with that, please do not. Please do not take that advice. I'm guessing that's it for the emos, Osama.
Yeah, that's it. Those were 3 for 3.
That's it. I think that's it for the 3 for 3. We have 3 times Arabs. We have 3 times things. We have a lot of 3 going on today.
Okay, I think we got a title for the talk.
I was just about to say, shall we go with Arab?
I like it.
I think that'll work. For everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in for this weird... It is raining by now. I'm sitting in a car in a raining parking lot. This is like movie level atmosphere here. I should do this more often. This was another episode of the Habibis. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. If you have any questions for Osama, so Osama can be happy, please send them to info@thehabibis.com. Also, come hang out in our Discord. It's available always at discord.thehabibis.com. I think that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Well, everybody, have a good one. Salam.
Salam.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I was Rami Ismail, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at @THA_Rami. My fellow Habibis were Osama Dorias, who you can find on Twitter at Osama Dorias, and Fawzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fawzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, and suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. The intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubaila, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and salam.